Whose music was banned for a while, years after his death? Well, today I want to tell you about a German music composer by the name of Max Bruch. Max was born in 1838 to a very cultured, very artistic family. His father was a government worker, but his father also had a lot of scholarly interest. His mother was a playwright, she was a music teacher, she was a singer, and she quickly recognized the musical potential and the desire for music that her son had. He was very gifted and quickly started writing his own stuff. By the time he was 9, he actually started writing, composing his own music. He ended up with a music teacher by the name of Ferdinand Hiller, who also taught Mendelssohn, by the way. By the time he was 14, he got a scholarship and he could go study composition and music theory and orchestration much more in depth. He was very excited about this. And this really started shaping, of course, who he ended up being musically. He loved music, but some of the composers I've talked about really are into simplistic lines, but he loved the fullness. He would write for smaller groups like string quartets and all, and he had beautiful solo pieces, but they're usually backed by a full symphony. He loves the whole, the wall of sound idea. I love his music. I loved playing his music. I loved listening to his music. In his early 20s, he writes this piece called Frithjof, and it is inspired by this Nordic legend, and it's great. It's a cantata. People love it. It's very imaginative and very beautiful, and that kind of gets him on the map, and he gets recognized as the composer that he is. His most famous piece of work, and the way that I was introduced to him, is the Violin Concerto Number 1 in G minor, and he wrote it in 1866. He revised it in 1867, and it is his most played piece, and also even during his time it was a very well-known piece, and he actually had sold the rights outright, so he never made money on it, no, like royalties once it was sold. Poor guy. I don't think he realized how well loved this was going to be. Besides being a composer, he was also a director, and he held some very impressive positions as a director. He worked as a music director in Koblenz and then in Sondershausen, and then later for the Liverpool Philharmonic Society in England. He was known as a really great director, really into the music, understood the depth of the music. He was also known to not be very good administrator, but I guess the one would forgive the other. So he is conducting, but of course he never stops composing. He composes over 200 pieces, and I'm talking full pieces of symphonies, operas, chamber ensembles, concertos, other solo pieces. And besides that famous violin piece he writes another one, and this one is based on Scottish melodies. One of the things that's so wonderful and unique about Max Bruch is he is exploring cultures throughout his music. We have Scottish, we have stuff that's Nordic, but he writes this very well-known cello piece. It's still often played in the cello repertoire called Kol Nidre, and it is based on this Jewish liturgical chants. And it remains, as I said, this phenomenal piece. But what I want you to know is that during the Second World War, towards the end, it was forbidden to be played. First of all, they thought Bruch was a Jew, and so that was a no. But he wasn't a Jew. He just loves looking and exploring into different cultures, but the music was based on Jewishness, and so Ixnay wasn't allowed. Towards the end of his life, he wasn't conducting as much anymore. He actually went back to Germany, and he became a teacher, and he was teaching at the Berlin Academy of Arts, and he had some phenomenal students. He was a great, gifted, talented teacher who really poured into his students. He taught Ottorini Respighi. He also taught Ralph vaughan Williams and many other very well-known composers of the time. Later on in his life, when he's 43, he meets this girl named Clara, and she is from a prominent musical family. He really likes her, and they get married. And for all accounts, they had a loving, kind marriage. As for his works, Bruch's works were deeply influenced by this German Romanticism. He loved it, and it sounds lovely. He loves the lyrical tradition of Mendelssohn, of Schumann. And not so much what he resisted what he thought was more extreme, like Wagner or Liszt. So then later in his life, towards the end, he was actually very frustrated with the change of musical taste. He did not enjoy things like Debussy or Strauss, or definitely not Schoenberg. He was upset about it. He felt like what music was being lost. Instead of changing or adding, he thought it was the death of it. He felt increasingly isolated. He continued to compose, of course, but a lot of his later work went unpublished, unperformed, and during his lifetime, it is now, but during his lifetime, things were changing and people weren't wanting this romantic style as much anymore. In October of 1920, he passed away in Berlin, and he was already kind of considered like this old relic of the past. He had been admired and loved and welcomed, but by that point, they're like, oh, that's an old man doing old man things. And he was overshadowed by the progressives. I think his stuff is phenomenal. His music is beautiful, and it touches me every time. It is so it's music that just pulls you at the heartstrings. So go and listen to some Max Bruch.